So we got to talk about the Chicago Bulls, who are looking a little rough after a pretty solid start to the NBA season. In their last 10 games, they are 3-7. And for anybody wondering, that did knock them down a peg. They are tied with the Nets, technically in second place, but they have the same record as of recording this podcast. The Heat are above them now at 30-17. They are 7-3 in their last 10. So you want to talk about two complete opposite situations going on right now. The big thing with the Bulls that everyone was talking about over the weekend was the Grayson Allen flagrant foul on Alex Caruso that caused a fracture in Alex Caruso's wrist. Allen was ejected from the game. He's been punished. I think he's out for Wednesday night's game, suspended for one game. So he's out. Obviously, with Grayson Allen, this is kind of people kind of expect this from him, to not sound horrible, but he's known for some pretty hard fouls and some questionably dirty stuff. That being said, watching it, I didn't think it was as bad as some of the stuff he's done in the past. I don't know if that's a bad comparison, but I saw it and it was like, okay, yeah, he fouled him pretty hard, but it didn't look like he was trying to murder the dude,
Oh, doesn't that say it all though? When our defense for Grayson Allen is, well, it's not as bad as some of the things he did in the past. It's kind of like that says exactly where it's at. And I mean, I got to be honest, I'm surprised it's only one game. I thought he should have been suspended for a couple. This is just a situation. And I know some of this happened in college and Duke as well, but we're just well past the benefit of the doubt with Grayson Allen.
What was it? The Summer League game. He got two, what was it? In 5 seconds of each other, he was ejected from the game.
Yeah, Grayson Allen is a good NBA role player. He's carved out a career for himself. But here's the reality: that was a Bush League play. You now actively hurt Alex Caruso, who's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Thank God that wasn't worse. That's a hard foul. That's those in transition fouls when guys are going up. Those are the dangerous plays. Those are something that guys are trying to eliminate, or that the league has been trying to eliminate. Grayson Allen obviously rightfully was ejected from the game. He should have definitely been given that flagrant too. I got to be honest. I think he should have been suspended for a little bit more. This is just, again, it's a repeat offender type deal. It'd be one thing if we had never mentioned Grayson Allen's name before and that this was a hard foul and, you take the fine and he had no history here, but he's well past the benefit of the doubt at this point.
And I agree with that. And I think that's the big part of why I'm not arguing that he shouldn't have been, ejected, suspended, missing games or whatever it was. It's just, I don't know. When you watched it full speed, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, he definitely collided with him." And then when you watched it in slow motion, it made it look like a lot worse than it maybe was. I don't know. It looked, because it was in slow motion, it was like, "Oh, look, he's pulling down, but with both his hands," and it was like, but is that the thought process that's happening in real time? And I'm not trying to defend Grayson Allen. I just felt like, I don't know. At the bare minimum, to me, it's reckless, and I think that's the problem. Is where it's look, again, if you do something reckless and you hurt somebody, there's a consequence for it, and that's exactly what happened here. So it's again, if Grayson Allen had no history, I would go, okay, this is a reckless foul. Regardless, that doesn't really let you off the hook, in my opinion. It's the type of play that you got to know better if you're doing. Caruso, give up the bucket. This isn't a last play of the game type situation. Do you agree with the Bucks coming out saying they disagree with the suspension and that they support Grayson and can't wait for him to get back on the team on Friday? I believe they play the Knicks.
No, I got to be honest. It was pretty the next day, the Bucks social media team on Twitter had tweeted out the picture and they're like, "Oh, we're ready to go." And it was with a picture of Grayson Allen. And, everybody's going to have this next Chicago-Milwaukee game, circled. They're already geographically rivals. But no, I think it's extremely disappointing. I think the Bucks just got to take the L. Look, this is your guy. I understand sticking up for your guy, but he was pretty blatantly in the wrong here. You don't need to embrace it. You don't need to, it was already going to be hostile regardless. This is the type of stuff that adds some fire to it and adds some hostility to it.
Yeah, I agree. So, I think spinning so Caruso had to get wrist surgery. I don't think we could hit that part, but he's out for at least 6 weeks.
Right.
So we'll see where we are. We'll revisit that down the line. But, to that, Chicago dealing with some injuries. DeRozan was out the other day. Levine actually came back on Monday and helped them get the win. So it's good to see him back, but he was out for a while with some knee problems. I think the positive spin on this from Chicago is, yes, you kind of faltered a little bit, 3 in the last 10, like I was saying. But to that point, you're still number 2 in the East, and you're getting your deeper bench players more minutes. So in theory, if you do get healthy and you are trying to make a playoff run, I know the lineups shrink then, but the whole next man up mentality is like there's guys that have had minutes and they're ready to go and they've proven themselves, and you kind of know what you're working with when you do potentially go on this deeper playoff run that we kind of now expect from Chicago.
I do agree with that part of it in the sense that, yeah, it'll be good to benefit some of those bench guys and get them minutes because, like you said, there are expectations at Chicago. At the minimum, they're going to be playing playoff basketball. But I think this is a big deal. And this is going to be, we're talking right now is the way the standings are shaken out. Chicago's at 2, but 1 through 6 is separated by 2.5 games right now. Even Charlotte at 7 is only 4 games back. Like Chicago is a quick another 3-7 stretch away from being down below Brooklyn, below Milwaukee, below Cleveland, below Philly. You want to stay out of play-in scenarios. So I think that's the most important thing is you don't want to be in that territory after you get off to the start. The other reality is they're just going to take a massive hit defensively. It'd be one thing to lose one of them, but you now have Caruso and Lonzo Ball with this meniscus tear out 6 to 8 weeks. 2 months is a long time in the NBA. Again, Chicago now, with how they started, they have expectations currently to, play deeper into the year than they have in a while. They're playing for May and June. So in a way, it's good that they're, I guess, dealing with these injuries now and they're getting them over with. And you hopefully are going to have them, rested, fully recovered and 100% ready to go come playoff time. But, this was a team that was already starting to struggle a little bit, just dealing with some people in and out of the lineup. They're looking for a little consistency. And again, to, keep pace in this tight race, you're trying to get a home court advantage or home court series for the playoffs. Obviously, this roster to be shaken up a bit as well with the trade deadline. Like we've been saying for a while that Chicago, I want to see them, ideally go out and make a play for somebody in the front court, whether that's Jeremy Grant. That's probably the biggest acquisition they could make there, in my opinion. But a couple of other names being floated around as well. But I think they're defensively, they are going to take a pretty big hit here over the next 6 to 8 weeks, and that's where I'm concerned for a little bit. Yeah,
and so if you go back and you look at their last 10, the other thing too is the guys they lost to were teams that are hot right now. Like they lost to the Mavericks. Mavericks seem to be surging right now. They lost to
Mavericks are playing great.
The Nets are the Nets. They lost to the Warriors. The Warriors, I know people are saying, Curry them or something, but it's still the Warriors. They did lose to the Celtics. They lost to the Grizzlies, again, another hot team with Ja and them. They lost to the Bucks, which we just talked about that whole situation. The only real concerning loss, not to sound horrible, but the concerning loss was the loss to the Magic.
Oh, I got smoked by Orlando.
So that's the only one that's concerning to me. That it's whoa, hey guys, come on,
well,
you should win that.
So are you concerned about a win is a win? Again, I understand the thinking there, but their game last night, or the game the other night against the Thunder, that was way closer than it should have been. We're going to talk about the Thunder in balling and falling, but that's not a game that should be close in theory.
No, but to that, looking forward, tomorrow night, as of recording this, so depending on when you're listening, it could have already happened. They play the Raptors, they play the Spurs on Friday. The Trailblazers are one that are interesting because they're kind of surprisingly picking it up right now. But they do play the Trailblazers at the end of the month, and they play Magic to start February, Raptors again February 3rd, Pacers February 4th. We could be recording midweek, first week of February, talking about how the Bulls went 1, 2, 3, 4, say 5-1. They could have, you know what I mean? It could be an easy turnaround.
Wow, you got them beating Toronto. Obviously, I think you're sleeping on Toronto a little bit, Justin. I'm not gonna lie, Toronto's playing some good ball recently. I don't know if they're getting 5.
But it's the Bulls. We got to give them their credit. I understand.
I don't think we do with their guys out. That's the thing, is I don't think we do with their guys out. It's the Caruso and Lonzo were key to this lineup. Those are two. It's not quite. Obviously, I'm not suggesting it's Zach LaVine and DeRozan going out. It's not quite to that level, but it's like they're losing two of their starters essentially here.
I agree.
I don't think we need to give them that much credit. I'm not suggesting they're going to fall off a cliff either. Like, I do think the Bulls are going to stay afloat. I'm not saying, they're not going to suddenly get out of playoff position or anything ridiculous like that, but it's going to be tough sledding. That I guess is my point. They are going to be going through a tougher stretch without these guys for a significant amount of time.
But I think a little bit of the help will be that Levine came back. Like it would be if Levine wasn't back and maybe we wouldn't have him till, the end of February, like then I would be more like, all right, now it's essentially all on DeRozan. That looks a little more bleak than if you're telling me Levine and DeRozan are going to be out there together. I'm still worried, but I'm less worried. Like I those guys can ball and they can put up points, so they can at least be in the games, and maybe they'll be close ones like with the Thunder. But at that point, it's a 50-50 game.
They're going to need Vooch to step up too. That's just the other reality. Is they're going to need Vooch to step up big time.
It sounds horrible. I literally forgot he was on the team for a second. But they're going to need him to step up. So and then a team like that, Vooch, Levine, DeRozan, like. On paper, that should get you a good amount of wins.
Yeah, I think they need to stay afloat. They need to play at least 500 basketball. I think that's the biggest thing. And again, like you said, they need to beat the bad teams. There are certain teams where they're going to be outgunned certain times, but they just need to stay afloat. They need to not go too far down the series where I don't want to see them slide to like 5-6 or something like that. Cleveland is 8-2 in their last 10. The Sixers are playing better basketball and have kind of a soft schedule. Milwaukee's starting to round into form a little bit. And Miami's only going to potentially increase their space as well. So the conference is tight. There's no way around it. And I think that's certainly one thing to keep an eye on.